Peter, coming to headquarters in New York. A lot of news to get to. A top House Republican threatens to subpoena a former Biden aide who is now refusing to cover up of then-President Joe Biden's mental health. President Trump's pick to run government news services such as Voice of America wants to tear everything down and start over. We'll bring you her testimony. And a congresswoman who participated in that brawl outside an immigration detention center appears in court on an assault charge. But first, breaking tonight, President Trump is expected to return from his trip to the NATO summit within the hour. As you look live at the White House, the president comes home after securing a much deeper financial commitment from alliance members. He's also suggesting the U.S. will be talking soon with Iran. And he's again insisting the weekend attack on Iran's nuclear weapons sites has set that program back years. His top intelligence official says new intelligence confirms that the facilities were in fact destroyed. Senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy is at The Hague again tonight with the latest. Good evening, Peter.
Good evening, Brett. This just in from President Trump. He says at 8 a.m. tomorrow there will be a press conference with the defense secretary at the Pentagon. The purpose is to fight for the dignity of our great American pilots. We don't know exactly what that is about. Stay tuned 14 hours from now. We are also hearing that there is a possibility of the U.S. pushing for a comprehensive peace plan with Iran. That is coming from the Special Envoy Steve Witkoff earlier today. President Trump himself told us that these talks could happen as soon as next week. He believes the Iranians were brought to the table by Saturday's 30,000-pound bombs.
You know, the fire and brimstone is all underground.
A source familiar tells Fox the Defense Intelligence Agency's preliminary report assessing that Iran's nuclear program was only set back a few months was based on 1 day's worth of intelligence reporting. Now DNI Gabbard says new intelligence confirms what POTUS has stated numerous times. Iran's nuclear facilities have been destroyed. If the Iranians choose to rebuild, they would have to rebuild all 3 facilities, Natanz, Fordo, Esfahan, entirely, which would likely take years to do.
If you want to make an assessment of what happened at Fordo, you better get a big shovel and go really deep, because Iran's nuclear program is obliterated.
The White House is now limiting classified information sharing with lawmakers on Capitol Hill as an FBI leak investigation continues.
Shout out consequence to the leaker case. They should go to jail.
At the NATO summit in the Netherlands, President Trump worked to convince most partners to increase defense spending, but not Spain.
You know what we're going to do? We're negotiating with Spain on a trade deal. We're going to make them pay twice as much. And I'm actually serious about that.
The U.S. Ambassador to NATO, Matt Whitaker, told us what happens next.
Spain signed up to the same pledge that everyone signed up for. And there is no Spanish out. We will have other ways for you to pay the same that everyone else is.
Leaders here seem sympathetic to President Trump's South Lawn outburst about Iran and Israel.
They don't know what the f*** they're doing.
With NATO's Secretary General calling the president a word seldom used in diplomacy, daddy.
That daddy has sometimes used strong language.
Yeah, he's strong. Every once in a while you have to use a certain word.
The president didn't mind.
He did it very affectionate. Daddy, you're my daddy.
White House officials leave here feeling pretty good. The ceasefire President Trump helped negotiate in Iran is holding. Now he's working on ending the war in Ukraine, and he talked NATO countries into spending more on defense. You could call all that the daddy doctrine. Right?
I'm pretty sure. I've been to a lot of NATO summits. I've not used or heard used daddy. That's good stuff. Peter, thank you. The controversy over the effectiveness of U.S. strikes on Iran is also playing out in Israel tonight. The official verdict there backs up President Trump. Meanwhile, the ceasefire between Israel and Iran appears intact, at least tonight. Senior Foreign Affairs correspondent Greg Palkot is in Tel Aviv.
Tel Aviv back in action as the first full day of the ceasefire between Israel and Iran saw the pause holding. Restrictions on work and play were lifted.
Today I feel freedom.
Talk continues here too, the damage done by the U.S. strikes against Iranian nuclear facilities. Israel's Atomic Commission calling the hits devastating, rendering the Fordo complex inoperable.
The assessment is that we have dealt a significant blow to the nuclear program, and I can say we have set it back for years.
As Iran reckons with a devastating Israeli-led 12-day war. There might be orchestrated cheers for the regime on the street, but 700 people were reportedly rounded up, allegedly for collaborating with Israel. 3 executed. And Iran's parliament votes to suspend cooperation with the UN's nuclear watchdog agency, the IAEA. A further government okay is needed, as the other war in Gaza pitting Israel against Hamas still rages. 7 Israeli soldiers were killed when an explosive device was thrown into their vehicle. They died in the blaze that followed.
Our hearts are with the families. We have embraced them in our hearts during this unbearably difficult time.
And in the last 24 hours, dozens of Palestinians in Gaza were killed, according to the Hamas-led health authorities, including those near aid distribution centers.
There is no safety anywhere.
Not to mention nearly 50 Israeli hostages alive and dead, still held by Hamas. People here praying they won't be forgotten.
Israeli President Herzog, in a visit to a cyber defense center here, came up with his own strategic vision for Israel, coming out of all this war and peace. In his words, it is to live freely and securely in the Middle East without existential threats. We can only hope. Brett.
Greg Palka, live in Tel Aviv. Greg, thank you. Tonight, back here at home, the Justice Department is making some adjustments to its strategy for keeping Americans safe. The FBI moving additional assets to areas which could be vulnerable to Iranian attacks. Senior national correspondent Rich Edson shows us from Washington.
After the United States and Iran traded direct attacks over the past week in the Middle East, the FBI is reinforcing its counterterrorism efforts here at home.
Iran, of course, is a threat. They have been a threat, and they always will be a threat to our country.
Attorney General Pam Bondi told the Senate committee today that federal law enforcement is watching for Iran-inspired attacks.
We are working hand in hand with all of our agencies to protect Americans and to keep us safe.
Officials say the FBI is shifting resources back to counterterrorism and cybersecurity. Bondi testified there are more than 1,500 illegal aliens in the U.S. from Iran. Democrats question whether the Justice Department has reassigned too many resources to immigration.
How are you ensuring that there are enough resources focused on the full range of national security?
Will national security be compromised? Not at all, Senator. It will be increased. It will be enhanced.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement says it's arrested more than 15 Iranian nationals recently. DHS says many have been convicted on charges involving drugs, guns, assault, and more, though no word of a specific terror plot. ICE says it apprehended one Iranian citizen in Texas yesterday, previously convicted of multiple felonies, including distribution of heroin and intimidation or force against a witness. After the U.S. attack on Iranian nuclear sites, DHS issued a bulletin warning that pro-Iranian or Iran government hackers are likely to initiate cyber attacks on American networks. All this as law enforcement agencies prepare for Independence Day events across the country, which launched the year-long celebration of the country's 250th birthday. Brett?
Rich, thank you. Breaking tonight, the chairman of the House Oversight Committee says he will issue a subpoena to a former Biden administration official who's backing out of a commitment to testify about the then president's mental health. Chairman James Comer saying former advisor to both President Biden and the First Lady, Jill Biden, Anthony Bernal, is now refusing to appear for a transcribed interview. Chief Washington correspondent Mike Emanuel has specifics on that tonight. Good evening, Mike.
Brett, good evening. Former Biden aides were hoping they would be covered by executive privilege and not be forced to testify, but President Trump would not assert immunity. Anthony Bernal, who served as former assistant to President Biden and senior advisor to the First Lady, is refusing to appear before the House Oversight Committee tomorrow. Bernal was known as Joe Biden's so-called work husband. He was known to have much more access than other Biden aides and was called the leader of the loyalty police. House Oversight Chairman James Comer says he will issue a subpoena compelling Bernal's testimony. Quote, with no privilege left to hide behind, Mr. Bernal is now running scared, desperate to bury the truth. The American people deserve answers and accountability, and the Oversight Committee will not tolerate this obstruction. Comer spoke to reporters about this investigation after another Biden insider was interviewed yesterday.
We put a lot of staff time into this. I think the American people want to know. I think there's a huge level of curiosity in the press corps with respect to who was actually calling the shots in the Biden administration.
The first witness to appear was Neera Tanden. She served as staff secretary and told the committee she was authorized to direct auto pen signatures and denies there was an effort to hide President Biden's condition. A recent Fox poll found 68% of voters believe the previous administration was dishonest about Mr. Biden's condition. Comer says Bernal's legal team originally said he would appear for a transcribed interview. Now it appears he will be forced to do it. Brett?
Mike, thank you. Stocks were mixed today. The Dow lost 107. The S&P 500 was flat. The Nasdaq gained 61. Up next, Britt Hume on the controversy over the damage assessment following last weekend's U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear weapons facilities. First, here's what some of our Fox affiliates around the country are covering tonight. Fox 40 in Sacramento, as the Trump administration finds the California Education Department and the state's high school sports federation violated civil rights law by allowing transgender girls to compete on girls' sports teams. The federal education department is proposing a resolution that would require California to bar transgenders from women's sports. It would also strip transgender athletes of records, titles, and awards. And this is a live look at Port Canaveral, Florida from Fox 35. One of the big stories there tonight. NASA, SpaceX, and Axiom Space launched a rocket early this morning following 3 prior scrubbed attempts. The Axiom Mission 4 is taking a crew to the International Space Station. The SpaceX Dragon spacecraft is expected to dock in about 11 hours. That's tonight's live look outside the Beltway from Special Report. We'll be right back.
Good news for working families. President Trump's tax cuts mean higher wages and lower taxes for working families. No tax on tips and no tax on overtime. President Trump's plan will cut taxes 15%, giving working families $10,000 more every year. And by ending free health care benefits for illegals, Trump's plan expands health savings accounts for Americans. That means greater choice in your health care. Tell Congress we need President Trump's working family tax cuts.
Eczema isn't the same for everyone, but with Ebglyss, people with moderate to severe eczema can have real results, like skin that's still more clear at 1 year. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection. Ask your doctor about once monthly Ebglyss.
Every dog is unique. That's why at the Farmer's Dog, we put your dog at the center of everything we do. With food that's freshly made, packed with nutrients, and pre-portioned. We're making it easy for you to take care of your buddy.
LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second and quickly alerts you to identity threats you could miss, like changes to your investment accounts, home type, and loans opened in your name, right on your phone. LifeLock. Join today.
Arthritis causes pain in your joints. Unlike pills, Voltaren gel is applied to the site of pain, penetrating deep through the skin to the joint, reducing intense pain caused by inflammation so you can move more freely. Voltaren, clinically proven long-lasting arthritis pain relief.
Here on the internet, you can pretend to be anything. Like a medical professional. Or a skilled electrician.
Don't trust the unfiltered internet. Angie has 30 years of experience finding the best pros.
Angie, job's done well.
Goldilocks needs a place of her own, and fast. Thankfully, she's on Redfin. They update their listings every 2 minutes. And with so many options, she's bound to find exactly what she wants.
This one's just right. Is she moving? Yes.
It's happening. It is happening.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, at 91 years of age with my wife Shirley, who is 82. Now, both of us are still cutting a wide swath in life, all because of Immuno 150. Now, we are asking you to use Immuno 150 like we did. Give it a chance for at least 90 days so that you can see what 70 plant minerals and 80 additional nutrients can do for you. It really is incredible. Yeah, try it. You will be surprised. Order now. You'll be glad you did.
What a hotel.
And only $250 a night for my favorite site. What?
You didn't check Trivago. You got mine for $155.
Check Trivago to compare prices and save up to 40%.
You didn't check Trivago?
Hotel Trivago.
Jesse is telling it like it is.
No pain, no gain.
And nothing goes unsaid.
And that's the point.
Tonight on Jesse Waters Prime Time.
Fellas,
we chose Spectrum Business because every second matters in our operation. We need a network that can move as quickly as we need to.
We've built some clientele that are not local, and live streaming is the way we connect.
We're a takeout restaurant. You order your food online, half our business is online. So we needed something dependable, reliable, with great service.
The state-of-the-art facility depends upon having a state-of-the-art network to support classroom engagement. When we had our grand opening, we needed to be able to operate from day one with ease.
join the network made for business, with solutions made for every size. Visit spectrum.com/made-for-business to get started.
This is the Tempur-Pedic Breeze mattress, and it's designed to help you feel cool. So no more sweating all night, no kicking off the covers or blasting the air conditioning, because only the Tempur-Pedic Breeze is made with our one-of-a-kind cooling technology that pulls heat away from your body, so the mattress feels up to 10 degrees cooler all night long.
And for a limited time, save up to $500 on select adjustable mattress sets and get a $300 gift. Denver Mattress, the easiest way to get the right Tempur-Pedic.
The site was obliterated just like I said it was. And just like the pilots should be given credit for, they came home to fake news. And like, oh, gee, there was hardly any damage. The things are decimated.
They want to spin it to try to make him look bad based on a leak.
Was this bombing of these nuclear facilities, was it successful? We have a lot of serious questions that demand serious answers.
Democrats here are grasping at straws. These are the same guys who just before the weekend said Iran probably doesn't even have a nuclear program.
Well, it was the headlines that came out over the weekend, in part from CNN and New York Times. Early U.S. intelligence assessments suggest strikes on Iran did not destroy nuclear sites, sources say. Strike sets back Iran's nuclear program by only a few months, U.S. report says. It was based on a DIA early assessment with low confidence. We had it. We reported on it. Jennifer Griffin put out stuff on it, and we've covered it here on the show. The CIA director, John Ratcliffe, putting out a quote, CIA can confirm that a body of credible intelligence indicates Iran's nuclear program has been severely damaged by the recent targeted strikes. This includes new intelligence from an historically reliable and accurate source method that several key Iranian facilities were destroyed and would have to be rebuilt over the course of years. That from the CIA director tonight. With that and all of this, let's bring in Fox News chief political analyst Britt Hume. Britt, good evening. You know, there's a lot of this back and forth, but there are kind of broader issues here to look at about the strike and the fallout from it.
Well, Brett, the best thing you can say about that preliminary report that leaked out yesterday was that it was very, very tentative and very, very early, and it was marked as low confidence. There's only so much you can know about underground damage from massive bombing in the 48 or 72 hours after it happens, because in order to really know, you'd have to be in there. And nobody within the reach of the Defense Intelligence Agency that I've ever heard of would be in a position to assess that. But we have reporters working on this story, one in particular who works for CNN, who is a person who fell for the Steele dossier hook, line, and sinker, who wrote that the Hunter Biden laptop bought into the story that was Russian disinformation. And so she wasn't working for CNN at the time. It's not clear to me how she ever got a job there, but CNN took her anyway, and now she's doing this kind of stuff. So, I think that the subsequent intelligence reports we've heard about are more reliable, but, this all has to await a longer-term situation in which somebody's going to have to get in there and really find out. But the Iranians themselves were saying today that their nuclear program was badly damaged. So maybe we ought to rest with that.
Yeah, the Iranians, actually the foreign minister put out a statement. The Israelis had a statement that matched what the U.S. officials were talking about. Here is David Albright. He's a former IAE investigator. He was on today.
We've been looking at satellite imagery during the last 2 weeks, and it's pretty devastating. I mean, a lot of their above-ground facilities that are a critical part of a centrifuge program have been destroyed. So I think these reports that somehow the word centrifuge is taken out are just incorrect.
But more broadly, Britt, the fact that the U.S. flew this package of B-2 bombers, dropped 420,000 pounds of ordnance on nuclear sites inside Iran. Not a single shot was fired, not a single Iranian jet got off the ground, and we got out of there and got back, suggests that we could do it again. And that was the message, not only for Iran, for China, for Russia, for the world.
Yeah, it was a reminder, if any were needed, that the United States military is the most proficient and powerful and technically equipped military on Earth. You know, there's a sort of an attitude, Brett, a view that took hold in recent years to the effect that, you know, the United States really hasn't won a war since World War II. Well, that's nonsense. People cite, you know, the outcome in Iraq, and they cite the first Gulf War and the fact that Saddam stayed in power. The fact is, our military did not lose those wars. In fact, the first Gulf War was a walkover, and the second Gulf War, where we took down Saddam Hussein, was pretty much of a walkover too. Now, you can make an argument that, yeah, we won the war, we lost the peace, and maybe we did, but none of that is to take away from the extraordinary proficiency of our military forces and of the equipment that they use, the B-2 bomber being the most recent and most conspicuous example. The United States military is very good indeed, and one can only hope that the tyrants around the world who would dare and want to challenge it would think better of it after what we've just seen over this past weekend.
Yes. Brett, as always, thank you. Up next, Democrats here in New York City make a controversial choice for their nomination in the mayor's race. We'll have a live report. First, beyond our borders tonight, a Japanese court finds a U.S. Marine guilty of sexually assaulting a woman on Okinawa. Lance Corporal Jamal Clayton has been sentenced to 7 years in prison. That case has triggered anger and safety concerns on Japan's southern island, which has a heavy American troop presence. And this is a live look at Rome. One of the big stories there tonight, nearby actually, multi-billionaire Amazon founder Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez arrive in Venice ahead of their star-studded weekend wedding. The event has drawn protests by groups who view it as a sign of the growing disparity between rich and poor. Weddings going forward with their guests in Venice. Just some of the other stories beyond our borders tonight. We'll be right back.
Here's to getting better with age.
Cheers to beating these two every Thursday.
Help feel today with Boost High Protein. Complete nutrition you need and the flavor you love. So here's to now. Now available Boost Max. And Doug.
Looks like we've told people Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need. For the last time. Goodbye, my friend. Huh. I thought it was deeper than that.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
My moderate to severe Crohn's symptoms kept me out of the picture. Now I have Skyrizi.
I've got places to go and I'm feeling free. Controlling my Crohn's means everything to me. Control is everything to me.
And now I'm back in the picture. Feel significant symptom relief at 4 weeks with Skyrizi, including less
abdominal pain and fewer bowel movements. Skyrizi helped visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. And with Skyrizi, many were in remission at 12 weeks, at 1 year, and even at 3 years. Don't use if allergic. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or UC. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's disease. Skyrizi is also approved for ulcerative colitis.
Every great performance starts with a great night's sleep. Thanks to new Natrol Sleep and Restore, which helps me be this me, this me, this me. I'm kidding. To be my best at all of this, I have to be my best at this. Every great night's sleep starts with Natrol.
New Natrol Sleep and Restore for your ultimate restorative sleep.
There was a tree down in the woods, the prettiest tree that you ever did see. Now we all have roots, and roots help us grow. We water where we live, plant seeds here at home, grow jobs, grow skills, so what's good makes more factories, more farms, more goods on the roads. What we make together makes the whole world go. Oh, make the green grass grow all around, make the green grass grow all around.
At JP Chase, the investments we make help make businesses happen, that make jobs happen, that make communities happen. Together, we make momentum happen.
BlueChew is a telemedicine service connecting men with licensed medical providers prescribing ED meds. Get your first month free at BlueChew.com.
Saving for retirement was tough enough.
And navigating markets can be challenging at times.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments we keep a disciplined approach with your portfolio, helping you through the market's ups and downs.
What about communication?
We check in regularly to keep you informed.
Which means you'll help us stay on track?
Yes, as a fiduciary, we always put your interest first, because we do better when you do better. At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
With fast signs, see the visual possibility in your business. With signs and graphics, you can say anything. Transforming your space begins at our place. Fast signs, make your statement.
Oh, what is that musty smell?
Oh, damn!
Damn! Oh, damn!
Hey, language.
Damper traps excess moisture to eliminate musty smells. Get rid of the damp with Damp Rid.
Virginia's Governor Glenn Youngkin says the Housing and Urban Development Department will relocate to a new spot in Alexandria, Virginia. Commonwealth says the move will save taxpayers several $100 million. When we recently took special report to the current HUD headquarters in D.C., we learned of plans to move as soon as they can.
HUD is known as the ugliest building in D.C., which is not a mantra I like. And so we're working on this building. It's a stewardship issue. We're spending taxpayer dollars. And so I think we can be very efficient in a different place.
In a different place, moving everybody out?
Yes.
And does that doesn't mean closing down HUD?
No, sir.
The Commonwealth saying today the new building in Virginia will give the department's more than 2,700 headquarters employees a modern, mission-focused work environment. Breaking tonight here in New York City, and while it's not official yet, Democrats have selected a Muslim socialist as their nominee for mayor. Zohran Namdani is claiming victory and a big upset over former Governor Andrew Cuomo. Correspondent Nate Ford reports tonight from City Hall on the Man of the Hour.
It's where the mayor will use their power to reject Donald Trump's fascism.
Self-described Democratic Socialist Zoran Mamdani is claiming victory in New York City's Democratic mayoral primary. The 33-year-old state assemblyman plans big changes in the Big Apple.
Where rent-stabilized apartments are actually stabilized. Where buses are fast and free to stop mass ICE agents from deporting our neighbors.
Mamdani promises city-owned grocery stores, free childcare, and free buses, paid for by tax hikes on wealthy New Yorkers and businesses.
He's a snake oil salesman. He would say he'd do anything to get elected. He wants to raise tax on 1% of New Yorkers' high-income earners. As the mayor, you don't have the authority to do that.
Incumbent New York City Mayor Democrat Eric Adams will run as an independent in November's general election, possibly joined by former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who conceded to Mamdani last night, but is now mulling an independent run as well. Mamdani faces accusations of anti-Semitism, even from those within his own party. Congresswoman Laura Gillen from Long Island wrote on X, quote, "Socialist Zoran Mamdani is too extreme to lead New York City. Mr. Mamdani has called to defund the police and has demonstrated a deeply disturbing pattern of unacceptable anti-Semitic comments." Tonight, President Donald Trump is reacting to the Democratic primary results on Truth Social, calling Mamdani a, quote, 100% communist lunatic, while on X, former President Bill Clinton has a different tone, congratulating Mamdani and wishing him well after endorsing former Governor Cuomo during the primary race. Brett?
Nate, thank you. More on this with the panel. Tonight, congressional lawmakers in D.C. are considering what they heard earlier today from President Trump's second pick to lead the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Correspondent Alexandria Hoff reports on the confirmation hearing for Susan Menares.
I have not seen a causal link between vaccines and autism. I think vaccines save lives.
Susan Menares' clear support of vaccines departs from the president's initial pick to run the CDC. Former Congressman Dave Weldon's nomination was pulled in March over concerns his history of vaccine skepticism could jeopardize his confirmation. Menares also departs from CDC norms. She is not a physician, holding instead a PhD in microbiology and immunology.
If confirmed, I will focus CDC on 3 top priorities. The first is restoring trust.
Menares is the first CDC director nominee to face Senate confirmation, a process Congress mandated for the position in 2023. Much of the questioning focused on another meeting happening at the same time.
As a committee, we have to make recommendations that is evidence-based.
The CDC's Vaccine Advisory Panel meeting for the first time since HHS Secretary RFK Jr. fired all 17 previous members of the committee, which is tasked with recommending which vaccines Americans should get.
We're going to bring people onto the ACID panel, not anti-vaxxers. We're bringing people on who are credentialed scientists, who are highly credentialed physicians.
Secretary Kennedy hand-selected 8 new members. One withdrew last night over what Senator Bill Cassidy stated was an apparent conflict of interest. The Republican, who is also a physician, fears the current panel lacks a diversity of viewpoints.
Yes, someone can speak as a critic, but there should be someone who's reviewing the overwhelming evidence of the safety of vaccines.
Today, the panel indicated it will recommend the RSV vaccine and current schedule for pediatric and maternal patients, adding long-acting monoclonal antibody treatment as an option in certain cases. Brett.
Alex, thanks. Up next, the Trump administration's effort to reform government communication agencies such as Voice of America. The person in charge wants to scrap it all and start over. And later, the panel on President Trump's big win at the NATO summit and what may come next with Israel and Iran.
The numbers don't lie. Bret Baier is #1. With the biggest interviews, more Americans turn to Special Report than anywhere else.
How does this end?
Well, it'll end when we remove those capacities, and we will. When the world is watching.
How would you characterize this meeting today?
I wanted to come here first to convey a message of friendship. Bret Baier has the interviews that matter most.
That was a success as you got on the plane heading over here.
A bigger success than I'll ever be given credit for.
Only on Fox News Channel. America is watching.
What I look for in a contractor is someone who's reliable and skillful.
That's where Angie comes in. With top-rated pros in over 500 categories, Angie can connect you with the right pro for any home project. Find top-rated pros in your area at Angie.com.
When it comes to my daily heart health supplement, I've got 3 rules. It's got to be plant-based, it's got to be doctor recommended, and it's got to be Super Beets from Human.
Discover why Super Beets is the #1 cardiologist recommended beet brand for heart health support at livehuman.com.
When your inner pirate seeks treasure, Long John Silver's delivers the gold. Wild codfish, hand-battered deliciousness. All this for just $6. Ain't just a meal, it's a steal. Sail in or order ahead in the app. Long John Silver's, fish ya!
Once you have kids, you want to make sure that they're taken care of. I kept putting it off, but finally I searched best online life insurance, and Ethos came up. I was able to get a rate instantly. It's a relief, to be honest.
Check your price today at ethos.com.
What a hotel.
Right, and only $250 a night for my favorite site. What?
You didn't check Trivago. Got mine for $155. You have to check Trivago.
Oh yeah? Prove it.
On Trivago, you can compare hotel prices from multiple different sites, even your favorite one. Look, same hotel, $100 less. You didn't check Trivago?
I didn't check Trivago.
Check Trivago to compare prices and save up to 40%. Hotel? Trivago.
Thanks for calling Consumer Cellular, ranked #1 in network coverage and customer satisfaction.
Hi, my friend Linda has you guys and gets way better coverage than I do.
Sounds like Linda has you beat.
Not at bowling.
You're breaking up a little.
Are you really ranked #1 in coverage?
Yep, and plans start at just $20.
Oh, we can afford lessons for Linda. You're embarrassing yourself.
At least my phone works.
Switch to the carrier ranked #1 in network coverage satisfaction. Call or visit Consumer Cellular today.
When you pick up a new prescription at the pharmacy, you don't know what it's going to cost. That's why I always recommend you check Single Care before you get to the counter.
Before I pick up my prescription, I always check Single Care.
It's quick, easy, and totally free to use.
It helps me get a better price on my meds.
At pharmacies nationwide, Single Care is saving millions of Americans money on their prescriptions each day.
I found a cheaper price with Single Care.
Yes, you did. See? Give it a try. Go to singlecare.com or download the free app and start saving today.
As a neurologist, my patients are often concerned with age-related memory decline. I recommend Cunol Brain Health with 2 powerful, high-absorption ingredients clinically shown to improve memory, focus, attention, and more. Cunol, the brand I trust.
The state of Iran's nuclear program. Inside what the media is reporting and who is behind the early assessment leak. Laura has the latest tonight on the EnglandEarlier.
Get this low-mileage lease on this 2025 Cadillac Lyriq all-wheel drive Luxury One for around $609 per month. Visit your Cincinnati or Northern Kentucky Cadillac dealer today.
Be part of a historic event. Join Lech Walesa, Nobel Peace Prize winner and one of the world's greatest leaders, on his first ever grand lecture tour across North America. Meet the global hero who changed the course of history and inspired